All right, you guys, we are back with another podcast episode, but this time we don't have our typical, LinkedIn founder, Series A funded, very button up, we're not doing that this time. We have a legend in the space. If you don't know him, you need to know him. I've been following Nick since 2022 on LinkedIn. Funny story, when I first actually started following Nick, my friend told me about him. And I was like, bro, this dude's talking about emails and stuff. Like, why do you even like? I'm not even entertaining this. And then eventually, as I just consistently seen you post and grow, and I started adapting that cold email stuff into my business, I was like, wow, Nick is actually a really intelligent individual. You're not somebody who's just doing surface level cold email. You're building infrastructures. But beyond cold email, you're 26 years old and you built a, what is it, multi seven figure business in revenue?
Yeah, we're multi seven figures right now.
I'm just trying to be like you when I grow up, big dog. That's all I'm trying to do. That's it. So, Nick, please give us an introduction and then we're going to get this thing rocking and rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. You hyped me up. You got me cheesing the entire way through. But yeah, my name is Nick Abraham. I'm the founder at Leaper. That's what I'm most known for. Built a couple other SaaS companies. Some have done good, some have failed. Um, what we're probably most notable for is like we have currently about 276 active customers at our agency, and that we have over 5,000 active users across all our SaaS companies. And in terms of like accolades when it comes to like cold email. We're the second most replied to account on Smart Lead out of like 90,000 senders. Send over like 4 million cold emails a month. What else is there? There's probably a little bit more out there, but that's me in a nutshell. Just been in the lead gen space for like 5 years, and just been posting content, just like Cardi said, for 5 years about like everything we've done. So it's pretty cool to see. Because like if you go to my tweets from like 2020, you can see me talk about like having like my first client or my 10th client and then going all the way to where we're at right now, which is like 280. And yeah, that's just me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been a cool journey to see. Usually I'm a certified hater when someone's growing up. No, but it's really been cool, like just to watch the growth. Like last year, that's when I really dove into like your content because you're posting more on YouTube as well, doing more
Hmm.
interviews. So I really like I started diving deep into your YouTube channel. And you really just drop such gems in game. We're going to get into that question a little bit later about courses and coaching. You're definitely one of the people that actually need to be in the space for it. And I'm sure you hear that all the time. So we're just going to jump right into this. I ask hardcore questions up front
Let's do
because
it.
the YouTube algorithm, everyone starts dropping off when you do the bullshit. So we're just going to start off with what does it feel like being rich?
That's a good question. So I think the best feeling is that like I know that I can take care of my family. And it sounds corny and stuff, but like so my parents came from India. They moved here when they were like 27, 28. My dad legitimately used to work at Jack in the Box. And I didn't have a bad upbringing at all. Like this dude saved every penny. He was nickel and diamond every single thing. He was investing in real estate while he's working his 9 to 5. He went from like Jack in the Box to being like a medical tech at a hospital, but nothing crazy. And to be able to feel like, yo, I could take care of him in any capacity, it's like the greatest feeling in the world, like I'm able to spoil them like they spoiled me when I was younger. So it's like my dad wrecked his car. I went and bought him a new car the next day. That was like super surreal to be able to do. Like my grandma, she's getting older. Whenever she wants to go back to India to go visit her family just to see what's up, it's like, dude, sitting in economy is like the worst thing ever when you're like 80 plus years old. And so being able to buy her like first class without having to like think about the account is it's pretty cool. And then just being able to see like how much you're able to impact like your team's life as well. Like, we constantly give bonuses. We constantly are able to help out in different ways. That's probably the best feeling. Like it's cool when you buy stuff, shiny things, toys, and I recommend everyone to get the cool things, right? The things you see everyone post about and the stuff you have like on your walls when you're little. But that stuff grows old pretty quick. After you buy your second or third one, you just kind of like, But the greatest feeling is whenever you can really give back, and that is so addicting to be able to give back. And that's kind of what it feels like being rich and being able to give back in that sense. But yeah, that's that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's definitely, it really shows like where your morals stand and your ethics stands because a lot of people they do like what I like about you the most is that you're not posting about what you have and what you don't have and what you're gonna get. you're always posting when you show your personality in all aspects, but it's always about value with you. And that's what I really enjoy. That's what made me even want to like talk to you to begin with, because after seeing you for a while, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't one of those internet money. Oh, you got to get the Lambo and the Rolex. You're like, hey, no, you have to build a stabilized business that actually makes money so you can go and give back to X, Y, and Z, whatever their mission is. Now, I know you're in the cold email space, but your model is really interesting.
Mhm.
So you put your balls on the table, bro. You're like, hey, what is it? Pay per appointment ready,
Yeah.
meeting ready. Break it down. You do your
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we and like to add a little bit more context, so that's like our main offer, pay per lead. And everyone sees that and they're like, yo, that's crazy. Like, how could you do that and all that stuff? There's a couple things to keep in mind. Not all our clients are on pay per lead. Like, there's still a big portion of them that are on retainers. There's a big portion of them on our cold email setup plan. So we just basically build out the infra for them to be able to send cold emails. And so that's like way more recurring than just like straight pay per lead. And even on our pay per lead clients, we still ask them to cover like the technology cost of like the infra and the leads and things of that sort. So it's not like it's strictly pay per lead. I think if I did that, I would probably not be where I am because it's extremely hard to forecast. And like we've been doing this for a while, and it's funny because like I think it just kind of hit me recently where I'm like, man, I think I might have over-engineered the business in the sense of like the way we do about our revenue forecasting with pay per lead and the way we think about how to make these clients, be successful with pay per lead. Like we just did so many, and like, whenever clients like, hey, this isn't a lead, how do we go about crediting it? How do we know how many we can credit? Like all those type of things. I kind of like put myself in a hole in that sense of like over engineering the business because now I kind of look at it and I look at our best performing customers and they're all on retainers. And the reason why is because their CAC is a lot smaller whenever you're on a retainer because your actual cost per lead drives down the more you receive on a retainer versus it being a flat amount whenever you do a pay per lead. And so this is something I wish would work better in the sense of like I wish a customer would come on board and understand like, hey, a retainer is actually more healthy for my business because the more leads that Nick gets me, the cheaper my cost per lead gets and the cheaper my CAC gets versus like them thinking like, oh, all these cold email agencies and lead gen agencies are scam artists. And, I'm only going to go with the one that does pay per lead. Right. And so that's kind of like something I've been thinking about of how we can educate customers a little bit better and help them understand that like retainers are probably the best way forward. And it's one of the things that like even now going into this like next quarter, we're like, yo, we got to start testing this out because like we're consistently delivering better for our clients whenever we have them on a retainer versus pay per lead.
That makes
Because
sense.
and it's just like incentive alignment too. Because if you think about it, when you have a customer on pay per lead, you can't really win, right? Either you get them so many leads, now their invoice is massive because you're charging them per lead, and they're like, yo, like this is not gonna work, or we gotta churn. Or you get them no leads and they think you're the worst person in the world and they hate you, right? But there's just like not that good of a middle ground. And in my eyes, I thought we would look at like clients would kind of perceive it more as like a partnership. And they would be like, hey, like the more leads I get, the more lead or more money you make. And it's like a win-win. But it actually doesn't really play out like that. This isn't to say that the pay per lead is terrible. Like, I built my entire business and like my entire career off of it, and we'll still keep doing it. But I do think that, there are better models out there that are easy to scale if I was a beginner and kind of complement bigger businesses better than pay per lead.
That makes sense. I mean, from what you're telling me, the way I would look at it, and we're going to get into the GTM engineering stuff. I really enjoy developing sales processes from the messaging, et cetera, the KPIs behind it. If I was in your situation, maybe you're already doing this. I would just go, my front end offer is very simple. Pay per lead. There's a threshold, which is going to be, hey, you're only going to pay maximum 10K. After that, you have to switch to retainer. So if you still want to maintain these same quality leads, you're going to have to switch to a retainer because we're not going to offer you pay per lead. And that's it.
Yeah, no, we've been thinking of things like that. I think even like whenever we have clients churn and it's because of price points, we talk to them about like, hey, let's just get you on a retainer and switch from there. Just because like the numbers just make a lot more sense for the customer as well as for us as well. And so yeah, I think there's just like a lot of things we could be doing there better. But that's part of the journey, right? We're like even though we're a service company, I feel like we're like still looking for product market fit. And I feel like we're slowly shifting there. And I feel like this is one of the things that we have to do on the commercial side to kind of get there.
That makes sense. So a lot of people take when they start the agency route. I know you have your software companies, all that other stuff. I used a few of them for like Apollo List and all that stuff. But why didn't you go with ads? Like
To sell ads or to grow the business?
like an ad agency?
I honestly had no background in it. So it's funny, whenever I first started, so I'll kind of give you a quick background. So when I was in like high school, senior year, as well as like my freshman year in college, I was growing Instagram pages. And I grew one to like 50,000 followers pretty relatively quick. Sold it because like I needed some cash, and probably a bad decision because it had like really good organic impressions coming in. And then I was like, hey, you know what? I could do this for other people. And so I started growing Instagram pages for doctors and surgeons. And for whatever reason, I thought that was like the perfect niche. Um, and so, I did everything that you probably shouldn't do, which is like create an LLC, create a nice fancy website, like, create a business card, things like that. And then I was sitting there like, oh shit, how do I get customers? Right? I was like, how do I actually get people to pay me to make their Instagram page? Like I created this business plan, I created the website, like all of these things that don't get you anywhere. And
Yeah.
so then I went online and I was like, hey, how do I get customers? And I saw things about cold email, I saw things about cold calling. That's where I found like D7 Lead Finder, which is like the first database I've ever used for scraping leads and stuff like that. And dude, I was just on the phone dialing for like 3 hours a day on my phone. And, I was getting appointments that way for cold email. Like I was using, I can't even remember what the tool is called. I don't even think they're around anymore. I think it was like reply.I, and actually, no, it wasn't reply.I. I forgot what it was called. Something like send.reply or something, but it was like super hard to use. Like just couldn't figure it out. It wasn't really working that well. Went on Upwork, found like some dude who could build like an SMTP and blast a ton of emails. So it kind of like taught me a lot of these like functional skills. And then once I started actually signing customers and closing customers, I was like, wow, this actually works. And then I was like, wait, like I probably could do this for other people. And that kind of birthed me into like the lead gen space and got me propelled into there. Because I knew that what I was selling to these doctors and surgeons was just not scalable, right? Like the way we were going about Instagram growth, it just like nobody cares. Like nobody cares to pay, $500 a month to get some like, 10 posts on their Instagram, and that was super hard to sell to cold traffic. And so that was like, my initial idea. Like, okay, I got my first like 10 to 20 customers or whatever it was. And then I was like, I need to pivot this because like it's not really that profitable. And that's what took me into the lead gen space. And so that's why I didn't do like ads or anything else. It was because I just learned how to do outbound sales. And I was like, I'm just gonna start doing this for other people.
So what are your feelings? What do you think is if you could only choose one, and let me rephrase the question. You don't have the knowledge you have now, and if you had to choose one, would it be paid ads or would it be cold email?
It depends on the person, I think. I think if you have like no background skills in paid advertising and you don't understand like how to build the entire backends and track and how to optimize those kind of things, and you don't have any capital, I would definitely go with cold emails because it's just so much cheaper. But like I think for anyone to hit true scale, like you're just not gonna find a company that has hit like true scale and is acquiring, hundreds of customers every single week do it with just strictly cold email, Like you do need paid ads. And I think that's one thing that like Daniel really put me on. He's like, dude, you'll never get to a point. And here's the proof, right? We'll probably sign like 30 to 50 customers through content and outbound um, every single month, give or take, for our cold email setup plan. And ListKit, which Daniel runs, also does something very similar, and he's able to print 100 to 200 clients just through paid ads, And so for him, it's like, hey, I just need to up my marketing budget and spend. For me, it's like, dude, I got to figure out all of these like tiny little things to kind of get, the content pumping more to get the leads coming through there and then getting the cold emails to be increased to a certain amount of volume and tracking all these little tiny things. But for Daniel, it's a lot simpler. Not to say it's easy, but like I think there's two different things. There's like scale mode, and then there's like, you're just gonna like quickly jump up, And so I think that's the difference between like cold email versus like paid ads.
Are you running paid ads now to acquire clients?
So we were, funny enough. So I started like last year doing it, and we did it for like a 3 month period. But, and I think this is like where a lot of people mess up too, is like we didn't really have everything built out to make paid ads work really well. So we didn't have really good tracking in place. Like our CRM was like kind of iffy, it was kind of broken. We also didn't know like our LTV really well when it came to like our pay per lead because it ranges depending on the customer you have versus like the cold email setup plan, which is very finite. And so when you don't know all these numbers, when you run paid ads, you're just going to light it on fire. And so we probably spent 80 to $90,000 on paid ads. And I would say best case scenario, we probably broke even. Worst case scenario, we probably lost a decent amount of cash. And so we haven't touched paid ads since then because I'm like, dude, I'm not touching this until I know one, that the offer works on cold traffic. We know our numbers really well. And I feel really confident in how we're building out like our nurture system inside the CRM and how our sales reps are kind of going about, closing these like truly cold leads. So yeah, to answer your question, we have ran in the past, but we don't run it right now.
That makes a lot of sense. Honestly, I think I don't know what type of ads you're running, but it's like I'm gonna give it to Daniel. He really understands advertising, right? And of course, him and I have the same coach. But he understands advertising very well. He understands the KPIs. What I would have done in your situation, I would have just copied exactly what he did for ListKit. And then I'm assuming like your sales, just from what you told me, I'm assuming your sales assets, once somebody comes into the funnel, maybe it just wasn't the best.
Hmm.
That's the biggest thing because when you go from organic, my background's in paid ads. So
Hmm.
going from organic, right? It's such a different ball game because when people probably message you, they know, like, and trust you already. Like you can tell them everything, and they're just like, "Bro, I just saw you get like 500 likes on a post, obviously, and you have all these followers. You're always being tagged in this, that, and the other." But definitely with paid ads, nobody knows and nobody cares.
Hmm.
It really is a content cycle of how do you when you once someone becomes a lead, how do we break down all those possible objections in terms of breakout videos on the confirmation page and just consistent emails, just like showing them like, hey, these are common frequently asked questions. Oh, what happens if my emails go down? Just answering that in an email, answering that before their call. And then what I like to do, so I do this with my consultation clients when they're like iffy about my price, I'm just like, hey, I'm just gonna show you just how fucked you can be working with me.
Hmm.
And when I do that, they're like, that's not that bad. I'm like, I know it's not, but this is the worst case scenario. And but coming from organic, bro, you don't have to do that because
I agree.
they know you.
They trust you already. So it's like a much easier to
Exactly.
close.
Yeah,
And I think
like
that's the other thing too. It's like, yeah, with sales teams, like it's kind of like having like an inbound SDR versus having like an outbound SDR. Like both like serve a different purpose. Same thing with like having like an inbound account executive versus like an outbound account executive. Like they work a different type of lead because they need to be treated differently. So I agree with you 100%.
yeah, man, definitely. If you ever have any questions about sales processes, like, bro, I love building sales process. There's things that you could talk to me about anything else in the world, you might think I'm a retard, but sales processes and ads, like I can go in on that all day.
I love
Cool.
that.
So, I want to like backtrack a little bit here. Clearly, the way you thought about your life in general is different than most high schoolers would think about it. Like, what was that turning point where you're like, hey, I gotta get to it. I want to make money. Was it women? Was it your family? Like, was it a heartbreak?
Yeah, it's funny. So I think it's a couple things. So um, graduating high school, my parents didn't want me to go to like a state school because like they were just kind of like, hey, we need to like watch over you a little bit more, just from like being a little knucklehead in high school,
Yeah.
which is honestly the best decision that ever happened. So like while all my friends went to like universities and stuff, I was going to community college, and I was at home, and I had nothing better to do, and so I'm researching online how to make money, right? And I'm going through all the different things that people talk about, drop shipping, selling courses, like just trying a whole bunch of different things, right? And so that's kind of what took me down the mindset of like, let me just, try to make money and try this online stuff. I even had like a job at a gas station so I could fund all these like side projects. I was like flipping shoes, like a whole bunch of randomness. And I like I think once you get exposed to the world and you start to see people your age or just a couple years ahead of you doing really well, you just get immersed in it. And that's kind of what happened to me. And like and like back then I was dating my girlfriend, which is still my girlfriend now, dating for like 7 years, 8 years. I wanted to pay for things, and I couldn't because I had no money. And so that was like another thing too, is like slowly like how can I get money so I can afford this dinner or I can afford to take her out here? or whatever it was. It's like to impress her and build a relationship there. So I think it was a kind of a mix of stuff. And then when I really started to see this really grow was like my senior year of college. I ended up dropping out because like things were actually taking like a step forward and things were actually growing. And my time was like kind of split too hard with school. And I was like, yo, I gotta give this a shot and I gotta give this a chance. My parents thought I was absolutely crazy. Family thought I was absolutely crazy. I think I had like one cousin that was like, Nick's pretty smart. Like I'm pretty sure he's not just doing this just to do it. And dude, I was able to focus that senior year. And I think that was like one of the biggest things, like just being able to start young and mess up. Cause like whenever you start entrepreneurship, like the next 4 to 5 years, if you're coming from scratch and having like no outside influence, you're gonna mess up. You're absolutely gonna get wrecked. You're not gonna make money. You're probably gonna lose a lot of money. I lost a lot of money starting out, but it's like you're paying your way forward. You're paying to make these mistakes, and that's like part of becoming successful and making something stick. And so that's what it was. And it's like I'm able to make all these mistakes because like I'm living at home with my parents. I'm going to community college. When I actually went to university, I'm living in some super cheap apartment. Like there's just not much overhead and not much responsibility. So it just gives you so much ability to fail. And as long as you keep hitting your head against the wall, something's gonna stick. And so that's what it was for me. And then yeah, like, you know, I would say I think I'm pretty smart. I don't think I'm like dumb by any means, but I'm also really lucky. Like I got really lucky with a lot of these different things and crises and things that could happen like that happen. And so I don't just attribute this all to just like pure skill. I think a huge portion of it is just luck.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I say the same exact thing. I've been on my own since I was 16 years old, right? So, I'm 31 now, so 15 years in. And my older brother, he ended up going to prison at 18 for 7 years. I was my biological mom, she's addicted to crack. She's like the greatest crackhead ever. Like she's never been to prison. Like she's fully functional. She just nods out like during the day and shit. I'm like, all right, word. But and then I got adopted. My adopted mother, she was an alcoholic. I don't know what God's trying to tell me, but it is what it is. But she's an alcoholic, so I was kicked out. And I noticed like a lane. I noticed that I got very lucky in the lane that I'm in to end up being the person that I am because sometimes it's just one or two people making decisions for you that you don't even realize is the right decision. Like your parents saying, don't go to state college. Like that could have been like when they say pay for the knowledge up front. That is like you paying for knowledge up front. Me, I live with my best friend. I slept in his basement for 2 years, and his mom was like, "Hey, you're not going home because if you want to go home and try to rekindle things with your mother, I feel like you've made so much progress mentally that I would prefer you just to stay here and figure your shit out." And that's what I did until I was like 20. And now looking back, the person I am now, a father, being able to have two homes, things like that, I'm thinking like this is nothing to do with skill. This was pure luck, in my circumstance, timing in place, because all it took was one decision. My best friend's mom saying, "No, you can't stay here." All it took was one decision. Your parents saying, "Go ahead, go to state college. Enjoy. You're a grown man." But so yeah, when you said that, I just wanted to get that off because I was like, you're so right. Everyone thinks being a business owner, making a few dollars is all about skills. No, a lot of it's 80% luck, 20% skill set and consistency.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and like I've seen so many people in our space, specifically the lead gen space, like pivot their business like 10 times, They're doing lead gen one day, now they're doing like coaching and consulting, and then they're pivoting to, drop shipping, and now they run an ads agency and like that when you kind of have that kind of mindset, like nothing's just gonna work. You're just not sitting anything through. Like I had like 10 iterations, but those 10 iterations were on the agency, Leaper. It's always been cold email first, but just iterating on what we're selling, how we're selling it, how we're fulfilling. And we've been just doing that for forever. And like I truly believe like if you do something long enough and you stay consistent to it, like things will work out. And that's what it was for us.
So then what would you say to those people who are constantly switching? Like, one, why do you think they do it? Like, because think about it like this. Let's just say drop shipping. Having an agency isn't working, right? We know it works. Obviously, we're clear proof that it works, but What do you say to the person where it's not working and it's been 8 months, it's been 10 months or a year?
To keep going. I think that's all it is. But the other thing too, it's like I think it's funny because like they'll some of them are doing it because they don't want to take the long, hard road, right? Like they see the guy that is, pushing some kind of consulting or coaching program that has like this lavish lifestyle that they want, and they're just going back and forth. They just have shiny object syndrome because like, they want like a quick way to just make money. And there's legitimately no way to make quick money. Yeah, you can have a quick way up, but try to like consistently do that year over year over year. It's impossible. And so I think that was like another thing for me starting out early. I was like so obsessed with trying to figure out what is the quick way to make money, Like looking and reading these books. And it's funny, I went home a couple weeks ago and I was looking at my book collection and I had a book that I picked out for like stock trading. And it's like, dude, like, like I'm not gonna make it that way. But back then I really thought like, dude, I just gotta read this book, gotta, put a couple dollars in and then see what's up. And then I'll become a millionaire like in a month or so if I just focus on this for a month. Month happens and you just have unrealistic expectations and you're like, all right, this didn't work. All right, let me go pick up that book about drop shipping. Okay, I gotta, create a brand real quick and then post about it a couple, so it's just like that's what a lot of people do. And they're just trying to make and find that quick way to make money. And you just gotta know from the jump. There is no quick way. There's legitimately no quick way. You will eat shit for the first 2 years. And like, I think people can cut the curve a lot quicker, specifically if they have like someone that has done what they're doing or is just like able to give that startup advice. Like I always tell a lot of my like really close friends that really aren't into entrepreneurship, I'm telling them exactly what to do. Cause I'm like, bro, if you guys can just listen to me, I can make sure that 4 year curve is cut in half. Like you're still gonna eat shit and you're still gonna suck what you do for 2 years. But like I've been through that exact place where you've been, and I know what like kind of like small things you need to do to save money and like be able to still make it through. Like I think like one of my friends, he had like a business idea. He was about to pay someone like $1,500 to make a website. And I was like, dude, just go on Lovable and spin that up for $20 by yourself, please. Like do not spend you don't even have much money. Like do not spend that much money on a website, on an idea that you don't even know if it'll work. And so it's like small little things like that, like is pretty handy to like be able to give to friends and stuff.
Yeah, and it's so funny because a lot of my friends aren't entrepreneurs. Regular corporate, work their way up the ladder. Shout out
Yeah.
to my best friend Shandon. When I was 20, I used to live with him. He had a place called Kyrie's Corner. It was a little air mattress for whenever I was there. So, but he worked his way up the corporate ladder. He's making some decent money now, multi six figures, but he wants to make more. And I'm like, bro, like, just ask me. Maybe I'm not going to tell you how to make $1 million, but I'm like, if an extra 5K a month will drastically impact your life, why wouldn't you just sit here? Because there's people, and I know you know how it feels. Like I tell my friends sometimes, there are people who are dying to have a conversation with me and know what's inside here. And me and you go get pizza, and you're talking to me about a whole bunch of other stuff when your best friend, someone who will do anything for you, has a plethora of knowledge. And if you just give me 1 hour, we can mastermind this thing for you and you could ship it. And it's always the closest people to you who are like, yeah, yeah, we're appreciated. Like, but can we talk about this other thing now again? You know.
Yeah.
So I know you know how it feels. It's a lot. It definitely is. And I see that you're a person who likes to take care. So I don't know if it frustrates you or not when they don't listen.
Oh, dude, it does. I have a couple friends that are like looking for new jobs and like, I mean, I get emails nowadays where people are looking for jobs. And I usually don't like to work with friends or family just because like, I like to keep it separate. And it's hard to have that hard conversation if they're underperforming. But I'm like, dude, I get these emails from people that are asking for jobs and they're so good. They're just so good. They put like their what they could do to provide value and everything of that sort. And it's like I usually will always speak to them and I always tell my friends, I'm like, guys, if you're looking for a job, this is exactly what you need to be doing. Like you need to be sending emails or LinkedIn outbound and not just clicking easy apply on LinkedIn and then hoping for the best. And so like I've been following up with one of my boys like weekly to see how much outbound he's done instead of just hitting the easy apply on LinkedIn. And it's been like 2 weeks and he sent like 20 messages. And I'm like, you just can't complain about not having interviews when you're not putting in the minimal effort of sending an email that takes 10 seconds. I even wrote him the email. I wrote him like the follow-ups. and then what to say in the voice notes if he hits him up on LinkedIn, and it's just like no output has came. And yeah, I just had a heart to heart with him yesterday. I was like, dude, like if you have, because like, he's always hitting me up, like we always watch movies all the time. He's like, yo, let's go watch this movie. Let's go watch that movie like week over week. I'm like, dude, if you have time to sit there for 2.5 hours to watch this movie, you have time to send out the 20 DMs per day. And it's like you would already had a job and multiple job offerings if you just did that. And it's like you just need a month of real hard execution effort. You'll be employed, you'll have a great job, you have multiple job opportunities, and you'll learn a lot. And so yeah, sometimes it's just like you can't really it's like what that's saying. It's like that saying is like uh you can get a horse to drink, but you can't
They
get the
can lead
horse
a
to go to
horse to
the
water, but you can't
yeah,
make it
that way.
drink. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I completely get it. I was talking to my friend as well. You know, he has his GED. I got him into tech sales as an SDR, and then he just was like, "Hey, I'm doing this corporate thing." And it's so crazy now. He's a senior account executive. I think they're paying him like a quarter million or something a year,
Huge.
40 hours a week, quarter million, and you're a dude with a GED, and you're a black dude on top of it. I'm like, bro, you're winning at life. But I'm sitting here like he was looking for a new job, and I'm like, hey, how did you get all? I'm like, you have 14 job interviews this month. He was like, "Oh, he was like, I just crafted some emails and then I sent a few videos and then I did some LinkedIn outreach and I did all that within like 3 weeks." I'm like, "Why won't you start an agency?" Because he has the hardest prospecting job ever and the most saturated, the job market. I'm like, if you can do it with that to get yourself that kind of interview, even an interview, imagine what you can do for other companies. And his response is, yeah, but I don't know about that other stuff. I'm like, dog, it's just a framework. It doesn't matter the product or
Yeah.
service.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing too. I see with like a lot of friends. It's like they're like their own worst enemy. Like they don't know every single thing about a process and they just don't think they're capable of doing it. It's like dude, nobody knows what they're doing. Everyone's just taking their best shot at it and
Mhm.
taking like some process and flow that they took from something else to try to implement here. And they're just winging it. And that's what most of this is, you know.
It's
I
it.
didn't know how to do my taxes up until like 2 years ago. You know, it's like things like that. It's like, you know, you kind of wing it and you figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was hilarious.
It's definitely a fact, especially like the taxes thing. Like my 2 years ago is when I actually did mine because I finally had like a huge lump sum of money, and then the IRS emailed me. They're like, "Yeah, you owe 4 years in back taxes." And I was like, "Well, here you go." Because before that, I wasn't really making money, so I was like, "It was 3,000 here, 2,000 there." But then that actual bill was like 78 grand, and I was like, "Ah,
You're
before this
like,
gets worse, let's
yeah,
just."
yeah, yeah.
So now my question, man, like you drop so much value on LinkedIn, so much game, like you're really an intelligent individual. And on top of it, you're not coming with a silver spoon. Like you aren't given a silver spoon. You just stayed consistent. But my question to you is this: why haven't you created the coaching or community or course?
You know, it's funny. I've thought about it so many times. And so I think like to be really successful at like running like an info op business, right? It has to have a whole bunch of different variables and variables that I don't think I have like a competitive advantage in. So I'll kind of give you an example. So for someone to hit the scale of like Iman Ghazi, for example, you have to be super out there and super famous, and your content has to like hit the mass scale. You can't just talk about like cold emails, right? And so it's like I'm never gonna be that person because like I don't want to put my personal life out there, right? So there's like that piece. For it to be like a really successful biz op, I think you have to be like have some level of like influence and popularity. And it's like I don't really care to play that game. I think the other piece too is for me to spend my time to take an info op business to like 100K per month it's just not worth it because I know that same time implemented in the agency and that same focus implemented in the agency will outpace the revenue that I generate from going from 0 to 100 to going from where we're at to where we would like to go. Right. And so I just think like my time could be spent better elsewhere. Um, and yeah, I think those are like the two biggest things. I also think that like most info businesses that don't have like a mainstream offer that's kind of like broad will do good, right? Or it won't do good. And so like a good example of this is like, okay, if I taught people how to build a cold email agency, that's such a niche thing that I could only sell to lead gen people versus like the people nowadays that are selling like how to build like an AI agency. It's a little bit more broad and it has like a lot more facets and ways to go. And so you can like kind of market that to a larger audience. And so I think that's like kind of like the biggest thing. I kind of just enjoy doing what we're doing right now. I don't really like the info business much, and I don't think it had like I don't have any competitive advantages to make it to where it's like it could be the biggest thing ever. And so I think with the agency, it's the complete opposite. We have like a ton of competitive advantages. We're already so far ahead. I kind of feel like it's the thing that you just double down on versus like trying to spin up something else just to make like an extra couple bucks. It's just not worth it at this point.
It's not. It definitely, and then yeah, it comes. It's a drag for sure. It's definitely a great cash influx pretty quickly, but yeah, it's just not worth it. It's not that it's not worth it, but if you're not fully like committed to like, hey, I really want to do this, it's not worth it. Now,
I've never seen like an info business that hasn't pivoted their offer last more than like 5 years. You know, like everyone has to pivot their offer every year or every other year. And it's like when I first started, there were so many people that are pushing heavy like consulting courses that aren't doing anything right now, right? And vice versa. But yeah, I think like it's actually a much harder business model than most people make it out to seem. Like people just see it as, I mean, because there's a lot of sketch people in the space too, but just like any other space. I think people just see it as like, oh, like high margins, like quick to sell an audience. Oh, it's an easy business. And it's like, yeah, it's easy to make, maybe an extra 30 to 100K. It's not easy to sustain that and make, multi seven figures with a course business. Like that's super hard to do.
yeah,
So that's why you see like most of these guys that come out with like info products, they die out in like a year or 2 years.
that's kind of like what happened with me. So I had a cleaning business, and so my journey was started making my first six-figure months with my cleaning business plus coaching on the side.
Mm.
It just blew up on LinkedIn. I was just like, oh, I didn't know everyone wanted to do this. And me, I'm not wasting a dollar. I'm gonna take it from their account into mine respectfully. And we were getting great results. That's really what like made us just scale. Like we didn't need paid ads because it was just referral based. So I scaled that. I did that for around 3 years. So I always had the cleaning business and the coaching. The cleaning business kept going up. The coaching began dwindling. I'm like, yo, why do I have to make like 60 pieces of content talking about the cleaning business when I have a cleaning business and I just have Google ads running and clients are coming in and VA is just printing with bookings. And then I started using cold email. And then I started printing like janitorial contracts because you think a cleaning owned business owner is using cold email to prospect? No chance. So I was crushing it there. So I quit the coaching. I just sold the cleaning business in May. We just did a nice little multi six-figure exit. It was a good day. And then, but
Huge.
yeah, and then I had a period in my life this year where I was like, what was my favorite part of the business? And I was like, it was the sales processes, like just building everything and like because bro in the cleaning space no one was doing using go high level instantly follow-up sequences content using signal based intent for when you're doing outreach on LinkedIn saying oh shoot like when I saw people were hiring in office I was like do you guys need a cleaning company then they would refer me to the property manager no one was doing that so this whole year of 2025 how I got into GTM engineering was I was like yo I really love building sales processes. And this is where I want to stay. I may have had different things that I've done, but every business has always been building sales processes and everyone else handling the customer support. Like in my coaching program, I didn't coach. I did like no coaching. Everyone thought that they would get me. I was like, I don't know why you thought that. I did the last two
Mhm.
coaching calls actually, just to make sure they launched. But so yeah, I get what you're saying for sure. I don't think coaching is a scalable business. I believe it's a cash influx business, but I also think that where you are and it's the type of consistency that you have, I'm gonna say give you some pushback. I don't feel like you are maximizing your personal brand enough, and maybe you don't see just how valuable your personal brand is yet.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I agree 100%. Yeah, we definitely could step up the personal brand, especially on like YouTube. It was funny because I went to this conference, Sculpt in San Fran all last week, and I was meeting a lot of people, and they're like, "Dude, I love your YouTube content. I love your YouTube content. I love your YouTube content." I was like, "Bro, I've been posting on YouTube like all year." I was like, "That's crazy." They're like, "Dude, I watched every YouTube video. Yeah, it was kind of a surreal moment. I like told my girlfriend that night, I was like, you gotta bully me this next week if I don't put a YouTube video out. And she was
Did you
like, I
put a
got you.
YouTube video out?
No, I told her this last night. So this next week, if I'm not up by next Friday, then you can get on me. I was like,
All
I need
right.
to make a video where it's just like an update of where I've been like the last 9 months. But YouTube is so hard to crack. It's just so hard to consistently put videos out. And so yeah, because like I used to want to like get them. I mean, all our current ones are like edited and whatnot, and then like you have to have a thumbnail. So it's like you got to record, and even before you record, you got to script it, you got to record it, you got to send it to the video editor, you got to send it to a thumbnail person, and then you have like a VA have them schedule it all, and then you got to like cross promote it on your other channels. It's a lot of work to make it really work, but I think it's definitely worth it, and I think I see that in person now where I'm like, oh shit, I need to spend my time here.
I don't even think that you have to do all that, right? So like this is gonna go up on YouTube.
Mhm.
It's it's the fact that you already have an offer in cold email. YouTube, I want you, if I can make this suggestion, I want you to look at you making YouTube content as your automated SDR
Yeah.
because there is nothing like the YouTube algorithm that's just going to push your video consistently. And just do that. And then eventually, hopefully, you get back into paid ads. Your lead magnet is going to be a banger YouTube video, and you're just basically you're arbitraging traffic in reality from Facebook, pushing them to YouTube. Now YouTube thinks, oh, these people like Nick. Now YouTube is just pushing you up even more. Then you already have your LinkedIn audience. I guarantee if you said you're about to drop a 4 hour YouTube video in 3 weeks, and you told people to sign up for an email, a wait list to get that video, I can guarantee you'll get 10K views in your first 48 hours if you promoted it on your LinkedIn channel.
Yeah. You gave me enough ideas. That's the motivation I needed.
Bro, because you really like I'm rebuilding my YouTube channel right now, and I've already made sales from it, and my videos are only getting 200, 300 views, but they're so specific and pain point
Yeah.
driven that I don't like, Daniel Fazio says it all the time. He's like, I don't need 10,000, 100,000 views. So, bro, don't waste that opportunity because I think that where you are now, obviously you're doing amazing things, but this is you doing amazing things, not even hitting your full potential.
Dude, I always tell myself that. I'm like, dude, I gotta turn it up a notch while I still got this energy and I'm young.
Bro, I'm 31. When I wake up sometimes, I'm like, this isn't 26-year-old me waking up, I see.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I want to wrap this up because I definitely appreciate the time that you have given me. So just my last question. What are your feelings about the GTM engineering space and cold email? Because I do you feel like the market's pivoting? Because me, like I work as it full time now, and I also do consulting for other companies. It seems like a lot of people they don't want to take the agency model as much, and everyone wants to bring it in-house. So what are your thoughts and what are you seeing?
Yeah, good question. So I don't think cold email will ever go anywhere. I don't think outbound in general will ever go anywhere. Like outbound sales has been around forever. And it's just like it goes through waves and influxes. So I think what I see right now is cold email has gotten harder. There's a lot more restrictions. And so naturally, and then like it's so much easier to launch a campaign today than it was 5 years ago. Like wildly easier. And so there's much more emails in circulation than ever before. And so everyone's inbox is naturally more crowded. Like that's why your reply rates and your lead rates are dropping compared to 5 years ago. Um, Vice versa. 5 years ago, LinkedIn was a lot harder to get results because everyone knew how to hook up a LinkedIn automation tool. And on a LinkedIn automation tool, off a singular profile, you used to be able to blast a ton of messages. I think you could send like 100 to 300 connections per day.
Hmm.
And now you can't do that. You could probably do maybe like 40 per week. And so the LinkedIn inbox is so much more quieter than it used to be. And so if you run LinkedIn campaigns now at scale, you're getting almost 4 to 5x the reply rate that you would get on email. And so I think everything kind of goes through its seasons. And I think like cold email right now may not have the greatest reply rates, like compared to what it used to be. You still can get phenomenal results. Don't get me wrong there, because it's so easy to scale. But there's going to be a time and period where people say, okay, cold email is getting too hard. I'm going to focus on LinkedIn. And then LinkedIn starts to get hard and cold email gets easier. And so I think it kind of goes through these kind of like waves and periods. But I still think cold email is a great channel for every like business to be running. Um, I think the people that don't get good results is they just usually don't have, because like you could mess up on all the tech, on all the infra, on all the leadless scraping. Like you can mess up on all the fundamental stuff that we execute day in, day out. But if you have a good offer, it's gonna work every single time. I've seen clients that have the worst like campaign structure and setup you could ever see. But since they have such a good offer and it's such a no-brainer that it works. And so yeah, I think like that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. That's how I see this space. I think when it comes to GTM engineers, it's gotten a lot more popular with like the rise of Clay. And I think Clay is like phenomenal with what it can do, but it's also not essential. Like you can't put lipstick on a pig. And what I mean by that is like you can't do all this clay personalization and put it on a bad offer and then expect it to work. And so I see that a lot right now where like customers that don't have a good offer that's actually a no-brainer and can like crack a cold traffic market, they're like coming in and they're wanting to do these 10-step clay plays. And I'm like, this isn't going to do anything. It's just like that mental distraction that you want because you want to try something new. But in reality, it's like you got to just make this more of a no-brainer offer. Like I would say like 7 to 8 out of 10 times, if it's not working with no personalization, when you add the personalization, does it like take off in the sense of like it's quadrupling the results you got before. It's, obviously going to have a small incremental lift and positivity just because it has personalization there, but it's not like it's going to change the campaign. And so, those are like things that I think we like educate our customers on, and just speak about.
So then, in this day and age, especially since you work with B2B, what is a good offer for you? Because you know Alex Ramosi, he definitely those whatever irresistible offers, it's true, but I think that they're burned out. And a lot of B2B in general,
Yeah.
they're so far behind. Like they think just having a software is a good enough offer. So how do you
Mhm.
educate them on that, especially with so much bureaucracy in the B2B space?
Yeah, and it's hard. But like you just got to kind of keep coming back to the idea of like, okay, if your target market read this email, is there any chance that they would say no? Right? So if they read this, like, why would they not reply and say yes? And so like I think Enzo, he does a really good job of this. He runs C17, which is like a lead gen agency. And he has this like concept and idea of like lead magnets and using that to be like the front end offer. And so it's like, if you're selling lead gen, everyone's pitching, hey, we can get you 10x leads and guarantee X and whatever. How many of them are pitching a free lead list, right? And so it's like being able to make it a no-brainer, even if it's a kind of like a commoditized offer. And so like he'll send emails where it's like, hey, we've worked with top companies like X, Y, and Z. Most of our customers are having issues when it comes to lead quality. Do you mind if I send you a lead list that matches your ICP? And he'll use like Clay to make it to, can I get you 10,000 leads that fit your ICP of and puts in there like ICP, things like that. Um, that's how I think you really can make cold email work at a large scale. It's like what is that one thing that your competitors won't give for free, but also doesn't cost you anything and doesn't, have much of an incremental lift in terms of operations that you can just give and make it a no-brainer. Another good example is like there's a printing company where they like print, your company's logo on like a polo, right? It's like being able to send emails where it's like, hey, first name, can I show you what it would look like by putting your logo on a few shirts? And it's like, why would you not reply yes to that? And then it's like being able to just get that mock up for, takes you no, like it takes you what, 10 seconds to get that mock up done and then being able to send it to them. And now they have a vendor in mind. And now, you can say, hey, you got any events coming up? We'd love to, get you a discount or something for your first order. It's like things like that work really well, but you have a lot of clients for sure that are just kind of like, hey, I only want to say this. And it's like those guys are just never going to get results.
It's so funny you say all of this because now my mind went back to the beginning of our conversation about I asked you if you're running paid ads. You literally just gave the strategy for paid ads. Why it's like why is it so hard for us? It's easier for us to give the advice than use it on our own, than use it on ourselves. Because
Yeah.
bro, that's literally the strategy.
Uh,
Like what the fuck?
then maybe we need to start running paid ads again then.
In facts, because that's what it is. It's bro, it's a lead magnet. That's all it is. I don't know how you attract your clients X, Y, and Z, but man, I would sit if I was you, I would be sitting with your team. What can we give away for free that is scalable, that doesn't cost us anything in terms of money and labor, or minimal cost, at least in terms of financially, and just go run those paid ads again because all of your users are on Facebook regardless. Mix that in with your YouTube channel because you drop fucking heat regardless. Then mix that in with your LinkedIn, your social proof. Paid ads should be, if it's going to work for anyone, it's going to work for you.
Then I got to get it going.
You do, man. But Nick, I appreciate the time. I appreciate you being here. I think this was like one of the best podcast episodes I've done, you know, and I'm just really glad you were able to just, because I watched a lot of your podcasts before. I really wanted to be somebody who can bring out a little bit more of your personal side. Because, like, even the fact, bro, I didn't even know you had a girlfriend. I was like, oh, wait, he's not gay? No, I'm kidding. So I really do appreciate you just even giving us those moments of vulnerability and showing us, that hey, your business has scaled and it's growing and you're doing multi seven figures, but you don't also have it all figured out either. And
Hmm.
I
Still
really
learning every day.
exactly, man. So keep showing people, that hey, even here, those problems that you have at $0 a month, you're gonna have it at multi six figures, 50K a month. They don't go away, they just change. So, Nick, do you have anything else you want to end this podcast off with?
No, this is a fun podcast. I love talking about the personal things. So this is great. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, if you guys need help with lead gen, hit up Kari.
Appreciate it, man. All right, you guys.